there's a new narrative on board, and that's, we're involved with a project that's kind of bringing to light this in terms of spiritual emergency, but also instead of looking at things as we have a broken brain, we have, I guess, unconscious impulses that are, triggered, or the consequences of unresolved trauma. Now, how do we get to and that could be probably part of the key to many of us coming to terms with the scary reality that sometimes, when you look at sustainability and unsustainability, we realize, right? Perhaps if we feel that we've somehow resolved our traumas, we could take on a larger social trauma, of a collective. How do we, in your opinion, how do we begin that process? And what can you say to that?
So first of all, probably I will indeed, probably something that's not well understood in mental illness is the relationship between mental illness and trauma. And also, I don't really like the word mental illness. I think it's very limiting, very biased, because it's more like, I would call it mental fragmentation and emotional imbalance.
Yes.
Right?
That's great.
Because there's an emotional aspect that when we talk about mental illness, we completely deny.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it's really the inability to deal with our emotions and the thoughts that come out as a result of our emotions. And a lot of, I haven't come to observe people dealing with such issues that were not ultimately dealing with traumas at the same time.
Right.
So I think it's important to understand what trauma does. Trauma creates fragmentation within ourselves for a simple reason. Is if the trauma doesn't create fragmentation, we feel the pain. And we carry so much pain of our ancestors. So we almost, our ego or psyche had to fragment our identities, because otherwise it would be unbearable.
Yeah.
And so we can only defragment one step at a time. And so generally the defragmentation, when we start to reintegrate a wounded part of ourselves, we start feeling the pain, right? Generally, we don't see or feel that because we've numbed the pain and we've rationalized whatever identity or system we've built on escaping the pain with a false belief. Like, oh, it's human nature. Man is a wolf to man. No, man is not a wolf to man. Like, fragmented men are scared of one another, and therefore they believe that the way to succeed is to predate on each other. But that's the result of a traumatic stress. That's not like unchangeable human nature, and it's not a rational belief. And we see that because that exact belief is right now is destroying us. It might have helped our ancestors survive centuries ago, but right now it's taking us on the verge of disaster. So it cannot even be considered as rational. It's irrational. It's psycho-illogical, and it's coming on traumas because we haven't yet learned to trust ourselves, because we've been predatory to each other for the sake of survival, because we didn't know any better. So one of the key to overcoming this state is trauma awareness. And right now, because we are in this individualist society, to be honest, we've been blind to the biggest traumas, which are not individual, but which are collective. And so right now we look at trauma when someone has a trauma response that is not according to the norm. And then we say, oh, he has trauma. But we don't realize that even our response to that person is a trauma response. Psychiatry is a trauma response.
Right.
We don't want to see that we are insane. And so like we believe that this is chemical imbalance and that it's just touched some people, and that's no, everybody else is sane. Right. And so basically the first step is collective trauma awareness. Is realizing that no, this is not unchangeable human nature as we believed in the past. One of these false beliefs that we have used to not look at ourselves and not look at our wounds. But this is a collective traumatic stress. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's normal if we look at our history.
Right.
I mean, we've been playing these persecutions, oppression, rivalrous games for millennia. So of course, we loved it. And we never had psychological hygiene. No, we have physical hygiene. Every day we go, we take a shower, it's normal. We use soap to clean ourselves. And imagine not cleaning yourself for a month.
Right.
Imagine not cleaning yourself for a lifetime. Imagine never have cleaned yourself because you didn't know there was anything like body hygiene, right? That's exactly what we've done with our psychology.
Yes.
So we are full of infections, parasites. We psychologically stink. But we're so used to that we don't even smell it anymore, right? And so the awakening is starting to smell like, oh my God, it's all rotten everywhere. It's corrupted, it's sick, right? And so realizing that what we need to develop is awareness of the nature of our psychological wounds, so that we can start attend them, and so that we can psychologically rehabilitate ourselves as a species is key. Right now, we have to accept it's okay. It's part of our history. It's part of evolution.
Yes.
We haven't yet reached the point where we are psychological. Right now, we are psycho-illogical. And that's because we haven't acknowledged our traumas, we carry them, and we think that this is just the way we are.
Yeah.
We are identified with our wounds and with the system that we've placed to patch the wounds.
Yeah, true.
And so the first step is awareness. And then once we are aware of the wound, then we work on attending to them. And the good news of that is that there's so many new modalities that are being developed now.
Yeah.
You know, on top of my mind, yoga, breathwork, work in nature, psychedelic medicine, meditation, human circles, group therapies, family systems, etc., 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 collective trauma healing modalities.
Yes.
Wow, we are so equipped, but our society doesn't recognize that.
Right.
Because our capitalist society doesn't resolve our addictions.
Yeah.
It feeds on it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's also something that we can recognize, is that we've built a system that feeds on our wounds instead of resolving them.
Right.
Right.